Hello and welcome to this week's Football Talk podcast. I am Josh Call, and to my right is none other than Owen East, because Dave is... What is Dave doing?
I don't really know. I think he's showing his parents around Singapore.
Oh, friends!
Oh, family!
Got his mum and dad friends! Oh, yeah. I hope you have a nice time, Dave. Hope it's a lovely weather and you're showing them the sights.
I saw him tweet, actually, that he went to show them the beautiful view from this rooftop bar and he pissed it down.
He pissed it down. Dave, stop ruining everybody's occasion. But yeah, so I've got Owen here with me this week, and we'll be reviewing more than just Saturday's games. We'll be unfortunately reviewing Sunday's games as well. But we'll go into the news this week. Breaking news has just happened before this record.
Perfect timing, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
From podcast perspective.
Yeah.
not Varga's perspective.
No, Wagner's out of a job. But previously commented that I thought he was somewhat unsackable, and
yeah,
he's not unsackable, but I suppose in his heart of hearts, because it's meant to be a kind of mutual...
Is that what it's meant to be?
Yeah, mutual agreement that Dave Wagner's left Huddersfield. And I suppose if you feel like you've taken your team so far, you think, I'm not going to keep you up, I want the best. You might want the best for the club and them to move forward. But yeah, Huddersfield are now under caretaker manager. One of the coaches taking caretaker because they got Man City next. So
yeah,
don't employ a...
yeah, there's nothing worse than a really demoralising 10-0 loss, isn't it?
Yeah, especially as Man City are on a bit of form at the moment. But thoughts on where they should go? Because I've got a thought.
It's not going to be a good thought, is it? Is it going to be sort of like a stop the fire kind of
fireman?
Yeah.
A fireman.
I'm trying to think of an interesting analogy there, but what I mean is, do you think Fat Sam's going to get the job?
I think they would be stupid to do that.
Yeah.
I think they should plan for the future. They're 8-9 points adrift of safety. I think Dave Wagner was overachieving as it is. I would say employ a championship level manager.
Do you reckon?
Someone who you think you could build and do well in a championship. And
do you think that's like future proofing for next season when they get relegated?
Yeah.
Rather than employ
I don't think if you employ like Big Sam or Alan Pardew on big wages.
Well, if you employ Alan Pardew, you're not staying up.
No, he's not.
You get a funny dance, ridicule, and just be in the same position, if not worse.
Yeah, so I'd say similar to what kind of Swansea did when they appointed Carlos Carvalhal. I thought, yeah, okay, they were planning for a championship, and he did. He almost kept him up. And but yeah, I don't see him going for a big name. I see him going for somewhat maybe an unknown name. But
I suppose with 8 points from safety, you're not getting out of that, are you? Like
no, it's a high level manager. You're going to get out of that. Maybe, who knows? Someone may fortuitous to do it, but I wouldn't be planning to.
I think
next year in the Prem.
I think you're right. I think they seem like they run like a fairly smart outfit. They don't, they're not run by idiots. So you would imagine that's what they'd do. Someone that's going to do the best for now, bed in with the club, and then make an assault on getting promoted straight away next season.
All right. So
Good luck.
We'll wait and see with that. Also, since we last had a podcast, we've had a few things. We had the Carling Cup action. So there was
Burton.
Oh, Burton, yeah.
Hey, 10-0, and it's all fine. It's fine.
Yeah. The first goal in that second leg will be so important. You really...
Yeah. Can you imagine, though? Can you imagine if Burton do get the opening goal? Like, how many fans are going to be like...
Will the player run to the back of the net, pick the ball up going, come on, lads, we
can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10-0. That's doable.
Yeah.
It's not doable at all.
No. I mean, Pep will regret this, because in the away fixture, Burton's tactic will just be to fucking clatter them.
He's going to need to play the most reserve side he's ever played.
It'll be intriguing to see how reserved this reserve side can get. I mean, will there be anybody of note?
And they're all going to come in like body armour. Like, we're expecting a rough day.
Why have you got shin pads on your forearms? I'm not taking any chances, boss. But yeah, that was one of the legs. And the other leg was Spurs somehow managed to beat Chelsea. Don't know how it happened. We played pretty poorly, but won 1-0 due to a VAR decided goal.
Do you think it's going to be enough to see through the two legs? Do you think you'll be able to beat them at Stamford Bridge?
I think we'll be able to beat them at Stamford Bridge. I think we can do it. I really think we've got a bit between the teeth that we want to win something this season. I mean, we'll touch on it coming up. Obviously, Spurs lost yesterday and Kane hobbled off injured. So if that's the case...
With Son at the Asia Cup.
We've got Fernando Llorente. Vincent Janssen's back, though. He's back playing for the under-23s. Yeah.
I didn't even know he still played.
No.
He never did anything, did he?
He scored a couple of goals in the season. So what more do you want from a striker? Yeah. But yeah, so maybe this is Vincent Janssen's time to show.
Maybe he'll step up to the mark. No, he won't.
Okay. But yeah, so the second legs will come up in shortly, so we'll see how they go. Who's your pick? Who's the final going to be?
Burton
versus Chelsea. Yeah.
No,
put your money on it.
Yeah. No, I haven't. I think it'd be City Chelsea if I'm honest.
Oh, right.
Apologies.
Moving on. Marco Bielsa. Big fan of his. I've always liked his style of football. I remember me and you watching a lot of Athletic Bilbao when they were in the Europa League, the UEFA Cup. That was a real side. When I think it was when like United got spanked by them, and
they were amazing.
He's come under some scrutiny, mainly by the media, really.
Frank Lampard was pretty annoyed.
Yeah, he was.
He was pretty annoyed.
Yeah, but for a bit of spying, bit of, I don't know what he's.
I don't know what spying really constitutes. I was because this quite intrigued me when I first saw it on the news. So I was looking at it, and the spying was he sent one of his members of his staff to watch Derby train, and so I thought, that's the idea of spying, a nice espionage thing. And I saw a picture of Derby's training ground. You can literally see the pictures from the roadside. So I don't know what. Yeah. I mean, I could go and spy if I wanted to. It's not like it's particularly under wraps, their training. Marco Bielsa said, it happens all the time. When you do it in Spain, everyone does it.
Yeah,
so you think
I have no problem with this.
I don't understand. I'm not sure what top secret things they were doing at the training session that would have led them to reveal so much about their game plan. No. They were actually kicking it into the net, which is breathtakingly groundbreaking. I think it's just one of those things, isn't it? Like Johnny Foreigner comes over here, does something underhand,
gives someone a job, a spy.
And then good old England's brave Frank Lampard gets annoyed by it, and it's a story that writes itself, isn't it? Who won the? I don't even know who won the game.
Leeds won 2-0.
That's right. Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe it made a difference, but
Although isn't there some sort of speculation that Chelsea did exactly the same stuff, or Lampard was playing under them?
Mourinho was a manager who, when they had like a pitch side ban, or ended up in the change room via
he got smuggled in by a laundry cart. It's like something from a cartoon.
Like Scooby Doo, isn't it? Yeah. No,
it was wheeled in on a laundry cart.
Fuss over nothing.
Absolutely.
For me. But I mean, it fills some column inches, doesn't it? Any other news that you noticed? Or no, I saw that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has invited Giuseppe Rossi back to Man United to train. Giuseppe Rossi,
didn't he have a massive, horrendous injury? Didn't he?
Oh, a number of them. He's had injuries galore.
I love Giuseppe Rossi. I mean, I love Giuseppe Rossi. I liked Football Manager's Giuseppe Rossi.
Yes.
In FM 6 to 9, I think. He was great.
Yeah.
The American, Italian. Played at Fiorentina.
Yeah,
a great FM
he had a really good season at Villarreal, actually.
Yes, he did.
Where he really started kind of banging and then suffered injury after that. But it seems like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can do no wrong at the moment. But I don't know whether this is irrational or rational, but Sir Alex Ferguson seems to come back into the fray a little bit. Like, he's helping out, he's there, lingering. It's like, part of me just thinks, fuck off. Let them.
Okay, I can tell you right now, it's irrational.
Right.
It's
just like,
quite angry here.
Let United suffer. Look, you can't survive without your dad coming back. Oh,
yeah, it's like your dad coming back to fight you, pick on the bigger boys. But I don't know. And then from the other side of the coin, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has always been a real favourite player of mine, so he can do no wrong in my eyes. I think has a lovely young face.
It does. And a very strange accent.
Very strange accent. Enjoyably strange.
Yeah. So I think that kind of covers. We've got a little bit more news later on.
We'll touch on the Rio Ferdinand stuff when we get to the in-depth game analysis.
Yeah, but we'll move on to the quiz.
Go on then. Hit me up with the quiz. I've been doing no research at all for this.
Well, your life has been researched. You are a West Ham fan.
True.
And you also love Argentinians, don't you? You've always loved Argentinians. Always go on to me.
I could name you 3 Argentinians that I loved.
Well, hopefully you can name me 7 Argentinians that have played for West Ham. Can you do that?
I could probably do some of them.
No, I reckon you can do all of them.
Zabaleta.
All right, Zabaleta. Oh my God, we're going straight away.
Go straight away.
Yeah.
Zab. Obviously Tevez.
Yes.
And Mascherano.
Yes. Oh, we're rolling.
That's 3. Now I'm struggling now, so...
Well, you think about it.
I've got to think... Okay.
Yeah, this is going to come in at the end.
Well, I need a pen.
Yeah, well...
I ain't got one.
Well, use your head.
Can't write with my head.
Oh.
I write my hands.
Okay, well, that's... So, listeners, you get thinking 7 players, Argentinian players, to play for West Ham. And I was thinking also that Argentinians doing it around. What I'm going to do is next week I'm going to find out what Premier League sides haven't had an Argentinian play for. Because a lot of them have done. They've really got around a bit. They're quite promiscuous.
I'm probably not going to be much use talking about anything else now because I'm just going to be trying to think of Argentinians that have played. I can't think of any now.
Well, you've definitely been all latter era.
Yeah.
Players,
1966 too.
Yeah. So we'll move on.
All right, go for it.
We'll move on to the reviews of the weekend. So you need to come in at this bit because this involves your side.
That was
West Ham United versus Arsenal. The early kick-off on the Saturday. I was in London on Saturday and I was on the train with lots of West Ham fans.
I imagine, there's quite a lot.
They're all right. They're
a decent bunch actually because there's quite a lot from sort of this area that go up. Ashford, you would have got a hell of a lot getting on there. Decent bunch. Decent laugh on the train. Something we go up.
I had a laugh a few of them. Yeah. And the game. So
it was.
I was reasonably hopeful for you beforehand. Actually, I thought, you know what?
I've supported West Ham for long enough to be absolutely without hope, except for that little bit that lingers at the back of your head always, which is what kills you. I didn't know. I thought we'd be lucky to get a draw, and then when the game started, it was pretty nervy stuff when Aubameyang, I think it was, who sort of danced through our defence completely untouched. Had a shot, saved well by Fabianski, and then he blazed the rebound over. So I thought at that point, this is going to be a long 90 minutes. But after that, really, Arsenal didn't offer very much at all. Iwobi had a good chance second half, but other than that, I can't.
It's Iwobi, so don't worry about that.
They just offered nothing. They just really had no threat. And to be fair, neither did we really. We had more shots. I think we had 14 shots, but only a couple of them were on target. But we just looked better. We just looked better in every department. Defensively, we looked better. We looked stronger in midfield. We had a bit more assurance on the ball. Any time Felipe Anderson got the ball, he looked dangerous. And I was really, really impressed with the new signing of Sami Nasri because he seemed to, it might be a fruitless partnership, but him and Arnautovic seemed to just link up really nicely. He had a very, really close chance in the first half that I thought Nasri could have scored. He looked bright, and then he was the man that he just had a really cool head. There was a nice bit that the ball dropped on the edge of the area. He waited for I don't know, maybe like a second or two. It felt like 10 hours, and then just rolled the ball into the path of Felipe Anderson, who dragged his shot a bit wide. It was a nice shot, flashed wide. But to just have that presence of mind, just going to wait. No Arsenal ball on him. And he did the same when he set up Declan Rice. Just ball dropped to him, he just waited and then just rolled it into him. Good old Declan Rice scores his first goal for West Ham. And you couldn't watch him celebrate without smiling. I don't know, have you seen the... Cause, And even watching the post-match interview with him, you can't watch it and not smile. He just beams. He's so happy for scoring. He's just grinning the whole time.
Do you know what I'm happy about? Have you heard his nickname?
Declan Rice. Is it something about his ridiculous haircut?
No, he's known as apparently the Basmati Busquets.
Basmati, that's good.
Rice in his position, Basmati Busquets.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it.
That's nice, very good. Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah, I was thinking about him actually. Like I know there's a big decision for him to make, obviously between Ireland and England for a representative. Surely he's going to choose England.
Yeah.
He doesn't. Hearing him speak, he doesn't sound very Irish unless he's closer to one parent who's Irish. I don't know.
Yeah, could have brought up kind of like with respect for the Irish and always been traditional Irish. But yeah, I would say he's, for me, when it's a difficult decision, it's when you don't think you're good enough to play for England.
Yeah.
And you go, well, am I going to get international football? If I might get one call up for England, then I'm absolutely done. Or I could go for Ireland and get 50 caps or something. So I don't. For me, at the moment, it seems like he could.
He could be a really, I'm thinking of that defensive midfield position where we don't really have that many players.
Yes, Eric Dyer.
Yeah, and he is fairly terrible in like 80-90% of his performances. And I was thinking him. I don't know. Henderson's the other one that can sit in that position. He's not really a defensive player.
He's not completely natural, is he? No, I'd definitely like him for England.
As a 20-year-old, fills a gap really. I think that is what we really sort of need. So, Rice for England, I say.
Yeah.
And he's just lovely that he scored that goal. We won. First victory against Arsenal at home in 13 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
wow.
crazy. I mean,
no wonder you weren't hopeful.
Yeah, exactly. We beat them away a couple of seasons ago, but Yeah, nothing like that.
Yeah, and so Arsenal's revival under Emery seems to have kind of slowed down a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, they haven't been doing very well. They just looked a bit toothless. They just looked like they didn't really have very many options. I couldn't really pinpoint where they needed improvement, but I mean, they've got Aubameyang, who's second highest goal scorer in the Premier League. So it's not centre forwards they need. I think
there's a lack of wingers. They play down the wings without wingers, and Mkhitaryan has been. I mean, that Mkhitaryan Sanchez swap has got to go down as one of the kind of worst swaps. I mean, it would have been better if they kept them, but it's kind of like two players that you might have all just crashed them into each other, make them combust, and they're like, right, just two footballers less now because they're not good enough for anything.
Mauro Zarate.
Yes, well
He's
done.
another Argentinian.
Yes.
I was thinking of that Arsenal victory we beat the one at the Emirates a couple of seasons ago. He scored.
Did he?
I think both goals or the opening goal. Mauro Zarate.
Yes,
he was
Argentinian.
Argentinian
Player who never reached his promise.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to Brighton and Hove versus Liverpool,
it's the story of a dodgy pen again, isn't it?
I'm not. I would give a pen for that.
I think
it's more how dodgy.
It's more of a pen than the ones previously that we've discussed. It's Salah again, though.
It's Salah, and it will be Salah often because he is that man who can create the magic and will keep dribbling at players. And it's just for me, Pascal Gross is just a bit foolish, really. Just back off. Just stop going at him.
You do see the reaction of his defensive teammates that think, "What the hell have you done that for?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah, but it's fine margins though, isn't it? Like, you can't say that they only won by one. If they hadn't got that penalty, they wouldn't have won because they'd have just pushed forward.
Yeah, you would. It's difficult.
But it's 1-0 wins are good. I mean, someone probably said at some point that titles are built on 1-0 wins, but I don't know.
Someone says that literally every season when the team that look like they're going to win wins 1-0.
Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp didn't. I like to quote. He said something about that. The 3 points are the 3 points. You can't. We're not the Harlem Globetrotters. We're just going to get 3 points where we can. So grinding out.
Well, they needed to grind out a result because after a couple of losses, one in the league, one in the cup, they needed to kind of get back on winning ways. But
you don't have to win pretty.
Not
just
at all.
Win.
Absolutely, they'll be happy with that. All right. I'm chuckling because up next is Burnley versus Fulham, and it's somewhat ridiculous.
Very unusual to see the 2 own goals that send your team to defeat.
Burnley managing to win a game
without having a shot on target,
scoring 2 goals, no shots on target.
No shots on target. Well, we should talk about the only shot on target,
which actually,
which scores a goal, which is that Schürrle goal, which is just lovely.
I sent a message to our WhatsApp group saying, Schürrle's goals.
Absolutely
absolute sex, I think I said.
Yeah,
and if you haven't seen it, check it out because his first touch isn't great because he has to slow down and come back on himself.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to like about it. Like the pass itself, is a really long pass, and it's the times where you as English fans, we sometimes sort of like sneer at the long ball, but it's not a long ball. It's a sort of hoofed pass. It's a precision. Hit nicely, it goes right into his path. He does that Thierry Henry jump and control is associated with the Henry jump and control. You're right, flicks it just slightly behind him,
which leads him to that kind of shot method where he kind of cuts under it, doesn't he?
He's leaning backwards. He cuts across through the ball, and it just arrows into the top corner. Yeah. Good Lord, it's lovely.
It is lovely.
Just to show that 2 own goals then sunk his.
Yeah, that's not a match-winning goal because then, I mean, Hendricks must be a bit annoyed because he's got 2 assists of Oggy's, and maybe they should count. Do you reckon they should?
Do assists count for own goals?
No, they don't.
They don't.
It feels like they should. Where there should be a set, because especially his first one. The first one, really,
really good ball.
That's always going to. I think if he hadn't touched it, the other defender would have argued it. I think it's.
The second one's really just quite funny. He just bounced off his face.
Yeah, basically, he just smacked him. Yeah. But Burnley now have won. I think won 3 of the last 4. They're up in like 15th. It's all kind of turned around for Dyche. He seems to have relegation seems to have been.
It's strange because actually you're thinking about this league, and we'll touch on this in a bit. We'll talk about Leicester. That there's lots of teams that you think, they're doing really, really badly, and then you look at the league and think, actually they're not. And there's other teams that you think they're doing really well. They're not doing well at all.
It's that really murky middle ground. It's not really middle ground. It's kind of like lower middle, isn't it?
It's just one game changes the position of everyone.
Burnley fans will be very happy, and Fulham fans. I mean, Fulham's defence is now so bad that their own players are scoring against them. So
it's a worry for Fulham, I think.
There's not really been a new manager bounce, is there?
No, some investment this January. You could see them.
I remember shouting plug in the fact that Gary Cahill would do well. I could see him ending up at Fulham because lives in the area. Obviously, being at Chelsea, not getting any game time at Chelsea. He's at the tail end of his career, so I think that'd be a good sign if they could sign Gary Cahill.
Yeah,
sheer it up a bit.
They really need to sign someone else but Mitrovic though, because he isn't a good enough striker to keep them in the Premier League. Dave watching the rainfall in Singapore, so he can shove it.
Yeah,
he's not good enough for the Premier League.
I read in the rumour that there was a Fulham would turn down a £50 million bid for Mitrovic in this window from an unnamed Chinese club. It seems like maybe Mitrovic's agent had put that out there because
trying to orchestrate a move because 50 million is too much.
I mean, you could have named the Chinese club and people would have still taken it with the same pinch of salt. Right?
Most people would have known the Chinese club anyway.
All right, we'll move on to Cardiff Huddersfield.
I mean, really the story of an overturned penalty, isn't it?
I mean, you said more about the game than I already actually wanted to say. I was going to move on straight after mentioning the time.
Did you see the decision?
No, I didn't even care to look at this game.
There was nothing going on, but Wagner was absolutely furious at the end of the game because, I mean, I don't know the players. One player ran into the area.
Oh,
and the defenders
sounds hopeful.
Yeah, he's going in sort of the like perpendicular to the goal.
Oh,
no, wrong word. Parallel to the goal. Perpendicular is running straight out the goal.
Yeah, just
perpendicular to the parallel to the goal. And the defender, the fullback, is running with him, and he slips. And as he slips, he just knocks him over. His arm goes around him, which I think is where the problem comes. So he falls, and his arm sort of wraps around him. And he just falls over and he knocks the player over. Lee Mason, the referee, gives a penalty, but then obviously hears in his ear the linesman's talking, goes over to the linesman, and the linesman must have said, no, he just slipped. So Lee Mason reverses the penalty decision, which is something I don't think I've ever seen a referee do. Give the decision and then say, no, actually I was wrong. It's not a penalty.
It's not a regular. So should more players pretend that they slipped? Like you know how the acting we had of Stephen Taylor acting like he'd been shot when he handballed it.
Or like,
maybe more
holding
players.
His face,
yeah.
Like you're going like whoa onto the floor. Yeah, maybe. Don't know if that will work. But it seems to be the trick. But Wagner was very cross.
Well, he can't give two shits about it now.
It's on the plane back to Germany.
Yeah. We can move on to Palace versus Watford.
Now there's a couple of very unusual things. The unusualness of the Burnley double own goal in the Watford Palace game. You had the double post hit.
Yes.
You saw that from De La Feu and then Pereira.
Yeah.
Almost exactly the same spot on the same post.
It was nice, wasn't it? It was like he looked like it was going to go for him, and then we also have a cracking own goal as well.
Yeah, and what I like about the own goal is the redemption of then scoring the equaliser himself. It's always nice to see that.
I wonder what portion of people like. Often it's the defender who scores an own goal and then redeems himself. Yeah, I might actually contact Oily Sailor, Duncan Alexander of Opta, say how many times in Premier League history
a defender has scored a goal.
Has anyone ever redeemed himself more than once in his career? He's like, I think Cathcart's got the most own goals this season.
Has he?
Two. It's not an exceptional amount.
It was quite an unfortunate own goal because the ball is
just there, isn't he?
He's just standing there.
It's Dakura. I mean, if you had to blame someone, you'd blame Dakura because you kicked it into someone.
Wallops it, man. It's actually funny because it hits Cathcart, goes in, the goalie throws it out, and then someone else tries to clear it and just smacks another defender and goes in. It hits him straight in the face. So it's one own goal or the other.
Craig Cathcart doesn't have a look of an Englishman.
No,
a very continental man.
Isn't he Northern Irish?
Craig Cathcart doesn't have a look of a Northern Irish man.
I'm going to look it up, but
he's Northern Irish. Yeah,
Northern Irish,
but he's a British man.
I didn't realise Paul Merson was in the house.
How dare you? I got his name right. No, but he looks more continental, like he should be kind of sipping an espresso and wearing some circular rimmed glasses.
It's Italian brogues. Yeah.
But it's mainly the goatee I'm basing on. You don't see many people with goatee, especially footballers.
Yeah, a lot of footballers don't rock the
white
goatee.
Footballers.
No.
But all credit to him, he's persevering with that goatee.
Yeah,
but
he scored a goal.
He did score a goal and a decent header, back post header.
And you know who I'd forgotten about?
Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, Tom Cleverley.
Yeah.
Did not know he was still playing in the Premier League.
Do you know that how many caps do you reckon Tom Cleverley has for England?
Oh, I've dread to think. It's probably something about 20 or something.
13 caps for England.
That's too many caps.
That is too many caps. That is big team bias because he only got those caps when he was playing at Man United.
Yeah.
He's the same fucking player. Playing now. No, because he's shit. He always was shit. He was just playing for Man United. Whoever picked him and chose him, you need your head sorting because he's average. But
Lovely finish.
Yeah.
Lovely finish. The goal was really scrappy though, but the finish was really nice. Because it's really high and he's got his leg right
That's
up.
There needs to be more differentiation on that, because it's not a great goal or a lovely goal, it's a lovely finish.
Yeah.
The overall goal,
the build up to the goal,
but he finished it well.
Yeah, nice. Very nice. I had completely forgotten he existed.
Yeah. Watford up to 7th. They're kind of...
It's they're at
the peak of that, aren't they? They're at the peak of that kind of
it was annoying
muddle.
because with our victory, if Watford had lost and they were losing, we would have stayed in 8th and been level on points with Leicester, and that would have been a really nice way to be. And then Watford went and won, and that puts us down to 9th, and it's just that little struggle between those three. It's annoying that they fought back, but it's against Palace, who look pretty abject.
They need a striker. They still need a striker. I mean, Zaha has been... He's impressive still dribbling, but he's been poor in front of goal. I don't think he's scored since September.
I know it was offside, but there was one that he literally jumped over the top of trying to shoot. It was.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was really bad.
He needs to be back on the wing, be because he's quality with the ball at his feet, wide positions, delivering to someone who's just going to put it in the back of the net. Yeah. I mean, what's happened to Ben Teke? Giving him a run, mate. Surely he should find his feet somehow, or they just need someone.
Ben Teke is. I mean, he's. Yeah.
I think he might have been a fraud, Ben Teke. I think he just might have pulled the wool over people's eyes. Who's that chap that turned out for Southampton who wasn't actually a footballer?
Ali Dyer,
yeah. I think that's what Ben Teke is. I think he's just a fraud.
Well, I mean, the evidence is backing up. He had that one fantastic... He was outstanding for Villa. I mean, I used to think he was probably the best player in the air. He had such a leap on him. He attacked the ball now.
He's just a shadow of it, isn't he?
Yeah. All right, move on to a very strange match, and a match that's seemingly piled the pressure back on Claude Puel. It's Leicester versus Southampton.
Yeah, and this is the thing I was saying earlier about teams doing well, but you don't realise they're doing well. If you'd said to me on Saturday, and I think I keep a fairly close eye on the Premier League, if you'd said to me Saturday, how are Leicester doing? I would have said, they're not doing brilliantly. 15th. They were 7th at the beginning of the... How has that happened, that they've just sort of crept to 7th? Which, if you look at the league now, the top 6 is almost like a mini-league, because there's such a gap between 6th and 7th that's a mini-league. So you're the Premier League 2, Leicester were top of the league too. At that point, and I don't. They've sort of quietly gone about their business of picking up wins, but I still saw pictures, despite the fact they were sitting in 7th position. I still saw pictures before the game of people in the King Power Stadium with Puel out signs held up. Got confiscated by the
grandma. I mean, what's a granny doing with Puel out?
She's holding that for her grandson, isn't she? It had been confiscated.
What do you think about TV or maybe clubs, TV companies confiscating banners and kind of negative? There's been ones around like Sky's ruining football and they're getting confiscated.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why Sky do that, obviously, but I think ones that I think it's stupid, isn't it? Because a lot of the time the signs only make the person holding them look more stupid. Often there's so many spelling mistakes, grammatical errors, or they just look like it. I always think I think it might be Luke Moore from the Football Ramble, who goes on a massive tirade about the people that make a sign at home and then bring it in. These are grown men and women.
It's embarrassing.
Who, sometimes they get a bed sheet and paint on it. The effort and time they must spend in making this naff-looking sign to bring to a foot match. You're a grown man or woman. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. The Pogba one that you tweeted the other day or the other week. I love you. Please give me U''R shirt. I mean, potentially that's someone whose English is not their first language. But if even so, why have you made that? You've spent time colouring in the 6 and the heart. Do something with your life that isn't that. I presume
you've never taken a poster or a banner to...
I've never... This is not a point where you reveal a picture of me with a poster
I wish I could.
No, I haven't. I've never seen the need to do it.
No.
But then I'm not one of those people that goes to the foot match and then sort of screams abuse at players, because I think, one, they can't hear you. Two, I'm not a professional footballer, nor am I a professional coach. So whilst I talk a lot about football, I probably don't know half of what I'm going on about. I think, let the professionals get on with it. I'm here to enjoy the entertainment of a football match. Don't make a sign.
I've once screamed abuse at a player, and I still regret it to this day. It was Spurs versus Arsenal.
Under 12s.
Yeah, that is probably another occasion, another story for another time. I was with my dad watching Spurs versus Arsenal, and this was Arsenal when Sol Campbell was playing for Arsenal, obviously having once played for Spurs, and obviously he get a lot of abuse, and he came over to take a throw in by the side where we were, and I just started shouting abuse at him, and I stopped. I caught my dad looking at me. My dad was like, "What are you doing?"
Your dad, who's the most placid and calm person.
Yeah, and I was like, "Really sorry, I don't know what to go with there," but I shouted abuse to Sol Campbell. I mean, it's Sol Campbell. I mean, I don't like shouting abuse to someone's face, but I mean, I'll happily abuse him on here.
yeah. He's not listening.
No, he might be. He is an oddball. Yes. So, but
anyway,
Leicester versus Southampton.
Back to Leicester.
Yes.
Weirdly inconsistent Leicester.
Well, because incredibly inconsistent. So their last 5 league games, they have beaten
City, Chelsea, Everton.
Yeah, they've lost to Cardiff, lost to Southampton,
and in the cup lost to Newport.
Yeah.
So big wins.
I've said it since they won the league. There's been a kind of pattern with them where it kind of it's more anecdotal, is that they seem to get up for the big matches, and the little matches they think
it's beneath them.
Yeah, but Mendy.
Southampton. I was on Mendy.
Mendy straight away for the penalty.
Yeah, most ridiculous.
What's he doing? Just run next to him. Don't run and forearm bash him. What are you doing?
It stiff arms him, doesn't it? It's the stupidest,
the
silliest decision. Followed closely by, I think, Valerie, his 2 yellow. I mean, the first challenge he makes, for me, it could easily have been red carded then. He basically stamps on his knee and then pushes him in the face.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 yellow cards there. That's what's the word?
Poor decision.
Stupid. He's young and
he reminds me of Fellaini, the Master League right back. Yeah, I'd like to think that's coming to fruition. There's probably a Menander around somewhere. And Njord is playing in Scandinavia.
Burchets.
Yeah. Kelson in goal. Eddington probably playing lower league football. Yeah.
Smashing it left back.
Oh, let him crack in left back.
Absolutely.
Who was your favourite Master League original player, people?
Let us know in the comments below.
Yeah, but I mean, from conceding that penalty, then Mendy was very weak for the goal. He kind of just tracked Long's run.
He didn't really do anything about it, did he? Like
Shane Long, last 4 goals for Southampton have come under 4 different managers.
That's
so he scored his goal. Hasenhüttl shouldn't play him again because he scored his goal for him. Just wait till the next manager comes in.
Filled his quota. Next.
Amazing, he's managed to maintain a Southampton career as a striker, only scoring 1 goal. All of them. So yeah, that's me, boss. Yeah,
that is where Southampton really need to strengthen. They were really bright actually against Leicester. They were fired out the blocks. They looked good, but they just have such a mediocre forward line. And I thought when they signed Danny Ings,
and he started pretty well for me. He's a decent signing.
Great signing, and this just hasn't quite happened yet.
But a lovely assist for Leicester's goal to put it back. Pereira absolutely storming past on the right wing. But I mean, Leicester fans got to be fuming. You're playing against a very poor attack. You're playing maybe the defence is solidified, but for most of the game, over half the game against 10 men, you really got to be.
I mean, they weren't attacking enough, were they? They weren't.
Vardy seems to have finally, whether Vardy's doing the kind of Paul Pogba not play because I don't like Claude Puel, but
I hope not, because that would just be. Well, actually,
it wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me. Just talk about Ndidi's actual finish, which is great, because I still don't think he actually knew what happened.
No.
He sort of jumped in the air and it bounced off his knee, and then it went to the classic finish from the defensive midfielder there.
Also, shout out for Vestergaard, the tallest outfield player in the Premier League.
Nice.
Southampton about 6'7".
That is a tall man. Is that how that was Peter Crouch's?
Yeah, 2 metre Peter. Yeah.
2 metre Peter. Nice.
I mean, Southampton pulling away from it now, aren't they? And
I think they should be all right now.
Well, it's still close with
kind of a point away, but
but it's a much better position they were, and they're on that aren't they?
Yeah.
So on that upward trajectory. So we'll move on to a side who aren't on that upward trajectory. Chelsea versus Newcastle.
And a game that's really been overshadowed by ridiculous comments. Should we talk about the game first, and then just dig into Rio Ferdinand's moronic comments?
So.
3 goals were scored. Williams was lovely.
Both Chelsea goals were lovely, actually. I love the kind of, what would you call Pedro's finish? You would call it, is it lob? Is it flick? Is it?
It's a deft. No, it's not a deft. It's not a deft flick or anything. it's a cushioned lob, isn't it? I think.
Lob, you going cushioned lob,
because it was lovely, really lovely. It's just the way it bounced and it just lifts it over the key. It was just.
I do like Pedro.
I think he's a great player.
Yeah,
I really.
He's somewhat underrated when he was at Barca, but I feel like he doesn't get. I think he could be better. I think he could play more
in a slightly less talented side.
I feel like he'd be a really good fit for someone like Bayern Munich.
Yeah,
like, kind of taking over from Ribery. So obviously not young, but younger, and could do a really good job there.
I think he's great.
Very. I watched him when Spurs played Chelsea midweek. And kind of, you just watch how two-footed he is, because often you can tell how two-footed player is by he dribbles. Often they'll dribble just with their predominant, but he dribbles with both feet, and it's just
that's a really good sign of a two-footed footballer.
Yeah. Kieran Clark scored. Obviously, I mean, it's a goal, but Kieran Clark's another one who's kind of he's very championship. Very championship. But isn't he?
Yeah, but Willian got a lot of stick during the game. I saw a lot of tweets and people really berating. I don't think he's very well liked by the Chelsea fans.
No, he's a bit of a mercenary. He's he had that thing with Conte where he blamed his daughter on some Instagram post around like put some trophies over on a final season thing, and it seems like, and he's often been linked with Barcelona. Linked to Barcelona just recently, and then swapped with Malcolm. But
lovely goal,
lovely finish, really nice.
Really difficult position to be scoring from. So very nice.
But
flipping heck.
So Rio Ferdinand, who has
we should say for the beginning, who has quite a vested interest in Mike Ashley. Yeah, bearing in mind he sells his clothing range through sportsdirect.com. Yeah.
Suddenly starts
weirdly, like he went on sort of a weird rant about it, and who's the BT Sports?
Jake Humphrey.
He was doing his best to be level.
I normally don't like Jake Humphrey. I think he's a bit of a bell.
I think he's a bit of a panderer. He does tend to just sort of suck up to the players.
Oh, he tries to be all like top bounce with them. It's like, it really makes me kind of my stomach jam.
It just doesn't sit as well as someone like Lineker, but I don't know, maybe because Lineker's used to play, or I don't know, maybe he's more respected.
I think Vermeer's that naturally funny. I don't think he can. He says some really awkward things sometimes.
He's a very capable broadcaster.
Yes.
He was doing his best to be level about it, but really sort of launched into this attack and really sort of had a go at Newcastle fans who have been screaming out for their owner who wants to sell the club to spend money. And I understand, I can see the point about why would he spend money if he wants to sell the club?
Absolutely.
But then why isn't he selling the club?
Yeah.
Like, just actively sell it. Like,
as Dave has said, he'll sell. It will happen after a transfer, and he won't be spending money in the transfer window.
No. And once the window's shut, bang.
Yeah.
But Rio's claims that he put loads of people have done this. It's not me, like, I'm not doing like investigative journalism here. I've just taken what other people have said on the internet, and I'm saying it again now. But he said that when they went down, he put £50 million of his own money into it, which just isn't true. No. Just not true at all. He said they were a yo-yo club. They've been relegated 6 times in the last 125 years.
Really shit at yo-yo, aren't you?
Yeah, and 2 of those, so a third of those times have been in the last 11 years under Mike Ashley. So I don't think you can call them a yo-yo club. If you want to call them a yo-yo club, call them a yo-yo club since Mike Ashley's been in charge. They've been, he also said that they should be thanking Mike Ashley for getting Rafa Benitez in, but Rafa Benitez approached Newcastle and said, I'm interested in being the manager. He could see a project that he wanted to really pitch himself for. So I just found it very strange that Rio Ferdinand would be so vehemently like backing up Mike Ashley.
Well, it did seem like it almost seemed like Mike Ashley's bought a pundit.
Yeah, like he'd said to Rio, could you put in a good word for me, please? I did this, and this.
Yeah.
I drank so much, I was sick in a fireplace. Yeah. Don't mention that, though. Just mention all the money I didn't put into the club. Like.
But yeah, I mean, the £50 million bit is like, when people get confused with owners and their own money, they're businessmen. Then, like, people get rich in business and people get rich in life by not spending their own money. They're frugal people.
Ruthless and frugal.
Yeah, he's not spending his own money. He runs a business. The business generates an operating profit, generates a PBT, and eventually that money can be reinvested if they want to. Yeah, he's choosing not to.
He's choosing to pay himself back because he cleared the debts with his own money, so he's using the profits they make to pay himself back. Yeah. So,
But Rio Ferdinand's comments pay significance to a certain. I mean, I used to like him when I remember fondly the days of Richard Keys and Andy Gray. I remember,
until they were such horrible bastards.
Yeah, and they're really fucking weird now. But Richard Keys has lost his absolute mind.
Being endorsed, if you're Rio Ferdinand, it's like being endorsed by Piers Morgan. If Piers Morgan starts tweeting about how great you are, you think, oh shit, I've really crossed the line.
I've really fucked up. So, in case you haven't seen it, and I'm assuming you all have, Richard Key says, "Well said, Rio Ferdinand. If Rafa loves Newcastle, as he says, spend some of his own money. He's got enough. Management is about teamwork. But why should it always be Ashley? Buy it. It's still for sale. They're in the bottom three, and Rafa is responsible. He picks the team." So, he's saying that Rafa Benitez should buy players. How much money does he think Rafa Benitez has?
It's weird, isn't it? Like, what? What?
Yeah.
When has that ever happened?
Yeah.
He's just an idiot, isn't he?
I honestly, one of the most stupid comments I've ever. I mean, whether he's being a kind of Katie Hopkins and just saying it as a kind of clickbait type thing,
trying to get some attention.
I don't know, but it came across as one of the most ludicrous statements I've ever seen. It really just kind of boggled my mind.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
But that's enough for Richard Keys.
Yeah,
We'll move on.
We'll
move on.
Too much airtime.
To Sunday's matches.
Oh.
Where we're not going to spend much time at all.
One game we will.
Everton-Bournemouth, we're going to really talk about that bad boy.
I didn't really get into that game as much. So
Bournemouth are unlucky. Bournemouth started really well, probably should have been at least a goal up, but they have picked up 7 points since the end of October now, Bournemouth. It really is.
We were talking to a friend of ours, weren't we, about it was really giving Eddie Howe a bit of a hard time. I was only playing devil's advocate when I kept just making counter points, but 7 points. That's not good.
No, it's not good.
They
had I picked them as a surprise package this season, as a anti-surprise package. I thought they were going to do badly this season because I thought Eddie Howe was kind of
stagnating a little bit.
Yeah, and they had a really good start, which is kind of really offsetting this really, really poor.
Yeah, because I mean, they're still 12th, aren't they? But if having picked up 7 points since the end of October, to sit in 12th is you'd think, they're doing quite well, but no, they're on a really dangerous downward spiral at the moment, and they've got good players. It's
and obviously he's got a favour of the board because he's still invested more money. Bought Solanke and Klein.
And I think Solanke and Klein are good signings. Like Solanke up front could be a really good player. Like
it shows that he's pushing for the future, and Klein played in this match and he did all right, put in a ball which almost got turned in. I saw, but Everton on the other hand, Everton are faring a little bit better, but still not quite there. They're not far. I mean, Yerry Mina for me has been a bit of an average signing. I think people very much. I mean, he's signing on the back of a major tournament, which is always risky because he got Barcelona. He had a torrid time at Barcelona. I mean, he was somewhat culpable for Barcelona. Almost went last year, unbeaten in the league. Where he got to a penultimate game and Mina fucked right up, and so he'll be remembered fondly by Barca fans. Yeah, but he's just such an aggressive centre back. He needs to really rein it in a little bit. But I'd like to shout out for Adamola Lookman because he is looking real good. He's such a tricky little player. He's good, low centre of gravity, good turn of pace. He needs, amazingly, I bet he's barely started a game this season. He really needs to start some more matches because I'm a big fan.
He's definitely one for the future, isn't he?
Yeah.
We're looking at what's his name, Lucas Digna.
Keep banging the assists.
He's been responsible for the last 5 goals in his last 3 games, assists
and
goals.
Good on free kicks. Good.
There's a nice cross for Kurt Zouma, who scored his first for Everton. Nice header.
Yeah, and Gavin second. I mean, I think it's a bit unfair on.
I think the scoreline did 1-0 may be fair, but 1-0 I think would have been a fairer result. But
all right, well that covers all of the games.
No, it does not. It does not cover the games.
So
because
we'll
big
move on to
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's team strolled to Wembley and slapped the lily whites around a bit, and then David De Gea saved 4 million shots, and they won 1-0.
I just got a bit of bone to pick here. So I saw a column from Darren Fletcher saying, Ole Gunnar Masterclass wins it for United. Right, it upsets me as much as when people praise Di Matteo for winning the Champions League with Chelsea. Like these cracking defensive displays. These aren't fantastic defensive displays because their keepers are absolutely played and absolutely blind. What was Ole Gunnar's Masterclass going? David,
don't let the ball go in.
Yeah, use your feet a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, to be fair, David De Gea had an absolute stormer.
Oh, absolutely.
It was like a throwback to when David De Gea was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. It was that you reminded that, and there was a couple of saves. The point blank one towards the end with his feet was mental. It was absolutely ludicrous that he said that.
From Alderweireld,
It was absolutely insane. And I think I've seen he's drawn a lot of embittered fans have said, "Oh yeah, they only won because of David De Gea. They're only relying on one player." And you think, yeah,
no, absolutely. He's like,
yeah. I don't understand why that's a source of criticism.
He's allowed to play well.
Yeah, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the post-match interviews, I think, it said it's not crime to have a good goalkeeper.
No.
And you think, no, that's exactly why you buy a goalkeeper.
Absolutely,
so in crucial matches like that, your goalkeeper plays a stormer, you get 3 points because of him, because otherwise, without those really good saves, that's a 2-1 win.
My criticism comes as saying managerial masterclass or great team performance, because it wasn't. Because we can't. I mean, we averaged a shot on target every 4 minutes in the second half. That is not a good defensive display.
No, it's a poor defensive display and an exceptional goalkeeping display.
We didn't particularly finish very well because a lot of the shots weren't in the corners.
They were right at him.
I think Ben Foster's got a point. Right at him is still. He's got to be in that position.
Yeah, it's a good position, and his reflexes are good with his feet.
But you watch those finishes, like Ali finished straight down the middle. Kane right, straight in the second half was straight at him. It could have straight down the middle of the goal rather than the corners. I think we could have finished a lot better, but it becomes one of those things where it's not going for you, so you just get a bit tense, maybe a little bit tighter, a little bit more frustrated.
The desperation to score is mounting with every save, isn't it? And then the more saves David De Gea makes, the more confidence he gets, and the more players think like, how are we going to get past him? How are we going to beat him? And that affects it a bit more.
So he made 11 saves. That is the most saves made in a top-flight league match without conceding a goal.
That's very impressive.
New record. The previous record holder was Tim Krul, who held the record for a match against Tottenham. So,
so they like to pick him.
Yeah. De Gea now has as many clean sheets this season as Joe Hart.
Wow, what a...
Just to point out, Joe Hart,
who I slag off frequently.
Just the run of form that Burnley found themselves in has been since Joe Hart's been dropped. Just a little point there.
I did think that as I saw. Oh, it's not Joe Hart and goal. Oh, that goalkeeper's making saves. Yeah. Oh, he's diving to his left.
Yeah. Really nice finish and goal from United though.
Yeah, it was a lovely goal. Do you think Lloris was at fault slightly?
I don't think so. I mean, if I'm picking fault here, I'm going Kieran Trippier.
Mm-hmm.
Kieran Trippier is very overrated at fullback. He is a liability in possession. Can put a beautiful ball in. Pretty poor one-on-one defensively. There's a couple of times during that match he tried to control the ball. One point he tried to control the ball in the air. It hit his standing foot, bounced to Pogba. Pogba miscontrolled it. Trippier then mischallenged him and Pogba got past it. It was like, you had 2 bites of a cherry and
you missed twice.
But I think it was just a really good finish. It's kind of a finish Kane needed for his first chance. And I think people waxing lyrical saying I didn't see it as a world class ball from Pogba because there's a fair amount of time on the ball and a fair amount of space to put the ball into.
Yeah,
it was a lovely ball,
nice
but
world class has been a bit more congested in that sense.
Overall, it was quite a Mourinho type performance. I mean, they created a few too many chances for it to be Mourinho, but that counter-attacking goal, that 1-0, that clean sheet, it's kind of what Mourinho aspired to be, but
it wasn't. And a lot of people are saying, because obviously since Solskjaer's taken over, that he's had quite I'm going to use inverted commas, easy run of games. He's beaten teams that you would expect them to be beating. That Huddersfield, they played, you stuck 4 past in the previous week, and this was sort of almost like the first real test for his new side. And it's a shame that De Gea, in a way, not obviously you're not if you're a United fan, but it's a shame from a sort of neutral perspective that De Gea had such a blinder, because I don't actually know if it's a real test or not, because I think actually if De Gea had been having a regular game or an average game, Spurs would have stuck 2 past him, and then you think, it's it, they couldn't beat a big side, and it's not a masterclass. It's De Gea has such a breathtaking game that it's almost not a sort of indicament of how Solskjaer's getting his United team to play. You need to see a couple more games against better opposition to see if actually Solskjaer's making a big difference.
Tactics were very good first half by letting our fullbacks bomb on. Straight away, as soon as they had one counter attack in the first 5 minutes, we're going to get caught here. Why are our fullbacks pushing on so much? I mean, I think if we had Eric Dyer playing, maybe he'd have had the sense and the ability, like Harry Winks doesn't, to drop in as a third centre back and cover it. We're in desperate need of reinforcements. I mean, Sissoko went off injured. Kane looked injured at the end there. We have got players coming back from injury. Also, selling players, which is absurd. But without as long as we replace them, it's fine. But yeah, luckily we haven't got a game midweek. We play Fulham next weekend, so
should be back to winning ways.
Should be back to winning ways. Give Vincent Janssen a run out up front. He's probably not in the registered squad, but
it's gonna be Llorente,
Fernando Llorente up front because he'd normally play Son's off. So yeah, it's not ideal. I thought we played really well second half, created so many chances.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you were unlucky.
Unlucky overall. But yes, that's
the weekend.
That wraps it up.
Except City are playing now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're
1-0 up.
Yeah, Gabriel Jesus.
That's lovely.
We'll move on to the Wiki Files. Sing it, Owen.
It is the Wiki Files. Dave had different lyrics.
Did he?
Yeah, he said the last time when we did it all together, he was singing some. I don't know. It said Wiki Files.
Well, that's the only bit I know.
Yeah, that's all I did.
Right, I am presenting a Wiki Files to you.
Right. So it's usually this is sort of like Wiki Files for kids.
Yes, Wiki Files like quiz like.
It's always a West Ham player because I'll get a strop. Oh gosh, this is a journeyman.
So if you see it, say it.
I'm seeing it. I'm saying it. Right. I've been distracted by FC Hacker. I'll get to that in a minute. Yep, I've seen it. He began his career in when time began until 1996 in Nottingham, where time has no boundary.
You're about to point Martin O'Neill as manager?
Nice. I saw an amazing picture of Martin O'Neill from the 70s with a lovely lock of hair.
Really?
I'll try and send it to you so you can put it on the Twitter feed because he looks wonderful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sexy? Is that what you're saying?
In a sort of 70s way, no.
Oh,
No,
oh,
it doesn't
okay.
at all. He looks like Martin O'Neill with a weird barnet.
Okay.
Anyway, 1996 youth career finishes. He grows up. 96 to 2003, he plays for Nottingham Forest 181 times, scoring 51 goals. So I think he probably is a striker.
Yeah, not great for a striker, though, is it?
Not brilliant. No, 1 in 4, sort of. Just slightly better than that.
Good enough for West Ham to sign him, though.
Yeah. He then went to Hacker, FC Hacker, a Finnish football club based in the industry town of Valkeakoski. And they are currently the Finnish second division, it says here.
Yeah, I gave her no information. That isn't.
I'm not. I did not draw on my extensive knowledge of Finnish football.
It's quite unique that an Englishman goes to Finland. It must be a feeder club, maybe, or something like that. But I don't know the history of why this player went to Hacker.
He scored 3 goals in 18 appearances, so not brilliant.
No.
He came back and then traded the Finnish second division, I assume, for Ipswich.
Yes, he crossed the North Sea and
went to Ipswich. He must have lost a bet. 6 appearances and a goal. So again, didn't set the world alight, but plucky West Ham in 2003, just before the biscuit industry crashed, snapped him up. Played West Ham for 4 years, 142 appearances and 47 goals. So a slightly better return than at Nottingham Forest. He then went on and played 3 years at Aston Villa, 29 appearances, 5 goals. In that time, had 2 loan spells at Wolves, 5 and 0 goals, and then Newcastle, 15 and 5 goals. Then he went to Blackpool for a year.
Yeah, I remember that Blackpool stint fondly. I think that was the year of they got promoted, I think.
Right, okay. Blackpool, 16 appearances, 5 goals. Barnsley, 10 and 4. He went to China.
Yeah, went to a bit of China.
Before China was cool.
He was a trendsetter.
For a football club. China's always been cool. Guangzhou RNF, 10 and 4. Back to Forest, 4 games, no goals. Barnsley in the 2012, 32 appearances, and 2 goals.
He's getting some game time, isn't he?
Bristol City, then in 2013 to 14, 12 and 1. 2014-15, Hartlepool, 53 games and 6 goals, and then 2015 to 16, Nuneaton Town, 38 games and 10 goals.
So he's obviously stepping down. He has a love of the game. He wants to keep plugging away up front.
So I had an idea.
Grabbing his 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Because he ended with 571 league appearances and 144 goals.
Yeah, not a great return. I had a thought that it could be someone. Then I thought I don't know, because he started at Nottingham Forest and went to Nuneaton, so he's a sort of Midlands boy. Yeah,
and he obviously been at Villa and Wolves in the Midlands and a bit of Barnsley.
if I don't know this, is there a second tier of? This is it. This is all the information I get.
Well, I could have offered you his international record. He has none.
Okay.
I can tell you his English.
Right. Yeah.
And then I could tell you his position.
But
he's a striker. So is
it Neil Shipley?
It's not Neil Shipley. Much more recent than that, Mike. Premier League, West Ham. I thought he was all right. He was a target man. Put himself about a bit. Quite a bulbous head.
Oh, Marlon Harewood.
Marlon Harewood. Did you get it with a bulbous head?
Yeah. Actually, that makes Marlon.
No,
feed the hare and he will score.
So, I mean, it's just anyone who's got a slight animal bit in their name, feed the goat and he will score.
Yeah, it's sort of anything.
Feed the hare and he might score.
Yeah, I mean, they used to
not will.
Feed the hare 4 times and he might score one of them.
Yeah.
I used to quite like Marlon Harewood. So when he was very.
He could be on his game, couldn't he? And it'd be a bit tough to
shake off the ball, and he was quite fast and quite imposing, and was difficult, like you say, difficult to shake. Very much a poor man's Emil Heskey when Emil Heskey was good, which wasn't often.
Yeah.
So not great.
No, just the poor man's Emil. Blimey, yeah.
Sort of like Carlton Cole with pace.
Can't control.
Another bizarrely.
You've had some cracking.
Bizarrely.
Talking of West Ham having fantastic strikers, we're going to move back now to the
quiz questions. Right, so I've got 4, and I'm very much struggling. I can't.
So you have named Mascherano.
Yes.
Tick.
Thank you.
You've made Carlos Tevez.
Yes.
Tick. Zavaleta. Tick. Marazarate. Tick. Now, one of them is a current squad member, which you really should get.
Oh, yeah, Manuel Lanzini.
Yes.
yeah, good.
So I'm going to give you clues to the other 2. So one was a really poor right back.
We've had a lot of those.
Yeah, I mean, he's Argentinian. Now, I think he may have played. I think he may have played in Spain as well, or maybe Germany, but I don't really remember much about him. The other one, I don't know why West Ham thought this signing would go well. You signed him on loan from a Uruguayan club. He was probably the tender age of 21, 22 when you signed him. On loan, a striker, his first club in Europe, and it's like, do you really expect this man to score goals?
Yes. I can't remember his. That was recently, though, wasn't it?
Reasonably recently. Yeah, I think it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, and I can't remember who it is. Yeah, young player. Did he come from Uruguay?
Yeah, he used to play for Boca.
Yeah, that's it. I thought he came from Boca.
He was playing for a Uruguayan side.
What's his name?
Jonathan Caleri. Yes.
Yes, yeah. It was such an unfortunate because he was always quite highly rated on Football Manager. So I was thought, he's good. I remember him from Football Manager. Yeah, he was never going to be very good. He had a chance when we played. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Bournemouth. We were 1-0 up. We won 1-0 when it was the season we moved into the new stadium. Antonio had scored a goal. I can't remember. It might not be him. Anyway, we broke up the pitch. It might have been Swansea, actually. Anyway, we broke up the pitch. It was like a 2-on-1. He passed it to Caleri, and he put his shot wide. And I always thought if he'd scored that and got that confidence from scoring, he might have been better for us. But it just didn't work out for him in the end. So I got 5.5.
Yeah, and the final one is, amazingly, I did not realise this, he's now the current manager of Argentina.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even
I was looking at his wiki page, and I was like, because he signed him on loan from Deportivo, played 13 games, looked off pace, played for Lazio after that. Lionel Scaloni. Remember Lionel Scaloni?
I don't even remember Lionel Scaloni.
He's now head coach of Argentina, which
is he really?
Blew my mind a little bit there. Don't know how that happened because he was assistant before that and has been assistant at Sevilla. But what is it with Argentina not wanting to actually try hard and get a good manager in and do
weird,
well?
Isn't it? They always think like, well, we just play well and then not quite do it.
Yeah.
No, I would never have got him. The others, I'm a bit annoyed. I forgot about Manuel Lanzini.
I like Lanzini.
Very
is he going to be back this season?
I don't. It doesn't look like it. I haven't heard anything. I imagine he's probably.
I still feel sorry for him because it just happened before the
World Cup, and he had a really good season last year. So he was sort of probably would have done quite well at the World Cup.
All right. Well, I think that is drawn to a close. Unless you have any other business in the meeting world, that's what we say. AOB.
Nothing. Don't ever talk.
I do on a daily basis.
Unbelievable. No, nothing else.
No. Well, you can find us on Twitter at Football Talk, but remember, there's no
A in football.
Correct. You can find us on SoundCloud and YouTube. Football Talk. Give us a search and find us, and give us a subscribe. I don't say subscribe. Just do it. I don't know why you're not really.
Rude, if anything.
Yeah. Listening to us but not subscribing to us. Well, until next week when Dave will be back and we won't ever talk about Tottenham versus United again.
Lovely.